just someone else's business. Peace affects each and every one of us. People can positively impact both our economy and communities. How can we make peace more viable for many people within their reach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can make peace more viable. We can reach more people if we all participate. It doesn't matter how big or small the action is, but we can carry out daily activities that have a huge impact. Whether it's turn the lights off when you leave a room, or whether it's using public transport, or whether it's planting trees or looking after plants. I mean, all of these things have an impact on the world if you're doing it really consciously. And of course, when we're out on the streets, we can say hello to people, we can smile at people. We can be actively conscious of our actions, and that is peacemaking. And then of course you can go to the Goy Peace Foundation and do one of their incredible courses, or you can visit their free education materials, or you can look at the quarterly newsletter that the Goy Peace Foundation put out. I mean, all of these things are going to contribute to a more peaceful and sustainable world. The only way that we're going to have peace is if we all participate, and that's in whatever way works. Somebody shouldn't feel that they have to climb to the top of the mountain. Small acts of kindness, is what it's all about.
Okay, question number 3. As you're working so hard all the time, don't you sometimes feel tired and stressed out, and you feel like giving up everything? How do you relieve your stress?
I don't feel like giving up, because of course I've traveled 160 or so countries, and I've seen people living in ways that are just completely unacceptable and totally unfair, and some of which I wish I hadn't seen or smelt. So it's I feel I'm blessed, I'm lucky, and that at this particular point there are no bombs being dropped on me. So you know what I mean, like for those who are in very difficult situations, who are suffering because they can't eat or they can't keep warm, then on behalf of them, it's my duty to work extremely hard, because I'm very fortunate. In fact, I think the people who are fortunate, that have got a roof over their heads and who are warm when it's in the middle of winter, and who do have food, you are in a privileged position, and therefore, given that you are, then I think it would be appropriate for each of us to make some kind of impact, no matter how big or small that might be, on behalf of those who can't. So, but each and every person has to go on their own journey, and they'll do it in the time that they want to do it. And if they're not doing it, they shouldn't feel bad as a consequence of not doing it, because that's not what this is about either. Nobody should feel shamed or blamed or ridiculed, if they're not involved, because there's always a chance for them to become involved. And so, look, I will never give up, because I've seen too much, and I feel very lucky that I have, the opportunity to utilize my life to impact others. That's a huge privilege.
I'm sure you like it. You use the metaphor of climbing mountains as an approach to peace. But do you climb mountains yourself?
I've always used the metaphor of climbing the mountain, because it just makes complete and utter sense, right? I mean, each day for me, isn't about the end result. It's about each grip. It's about each phone call. It's about each letter, and concentrating, on those individual activities. I think if you're into the end result, then, it wouldn't work for me to be concentrated on the view. I've got to concentrate on the grip, because you're never going to make the view if you don't. You'll fall down. And so, I love this. I love just working hard every day. I've done it for the same thing for 26 years. Of course, it's evolved. But I feel more passionate and more excited and enthusiastic and energized by the work after 26 years of doing it than I did at the beginning. In fact, I think I'm more passionate about wanting to do this work now than I was at the beginning. So you know what I mean? It's just it's becoming more and more exciting all the time. To be given the Goy Peace Award is just a massive honor. It's like putting a turbocharger on your car. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. This is really exciting. This is a huge honor. I mean, some of my greatest heroes, people I've looked up to for all of my career are previous winners of this award. So to be on the same page as those people is just like mind-blowing. I can't believe it, and I'm absolutely thrilled, as is my family. So yeah, I think each day, take each day as it comes. Do the best you can that day, and that's how it should be, day by day.
You're actually climbing mountains in your everyday endeavor, right?
Yeah, I feel like every day is a climb, is a beautiful climb, and I just love it. And also, I love the fall down. If I'm going to fall down, then bring it on. You know what I mean? Because there's something I'm going to learn from that. I'm really comfortable with it being difficult, and it's really wonderful when you see the view, and the view that I just saw on Saturday, in Tokyo, when I received that award, and I looked out at the crowd, and I had the award in my hand, was just like, that was the view. That was a view of 26 years of work, and that was a moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Next question. What are your plans for the next 5 years? How will the world change over the same period?
Well, the world is going to change massively over the next 5 years because of artificial intelligence. We are at a historical moment. So we're going to see huge changes as a consequence of that. But we're also, 2025 is the most violent year since the Second World War. So, unfortunately, I think the next 5 years are going to be incredibly difficult. And therefore, each and every one of us has a huge role to play in the possibility of living in a peaceful and sustainable world. So I think we've got some difficult times ahead, but we need to stay positive, we need to stay focused, we need to stay hopeful, and we need to know that our actions count.